Welcome to 28 Days in Black History, presented by the Light of Jericho Missionary Baptist Church.
Who was Thelonious Monk, you might ask? Thelonious Monk is one of the greatest jazz musicians of all time and one of the first creators of modern jazz and bebop. For much of his career, Monk played with small groups at Milton's Playhouse. Many of his compositions have become jazz standards, including Well You Need It, Blue Monk, and Round Midnight. His sparse and angular music had a levity and playfulness to it. Thelonious Monk was born on October 10th, 1917 in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. When he was just four, his parents, Barbara and Thelonious Sr., moved to New York City, where he would spend the next 5 decades of his life. Monk began studying classical piano when he was 11, but had already shown some aptitude for the instrument. A quote from him: "I learned how to read before I took lessons by watching my sister practice her lessons over her shoulder." By the time Monk was 13, he had won the weekly amateur competition at the Apollo so many times that the management banned him from re-entering the contest. At age 17, Monk dropped out of the esteemed Stuyvesant High School to pursue his musical career. He toured with the so-called Texas Warhorse, an evangelist and faith healer, before assembling a quartet of his own. Although it was typical to play for a big band at this time, Monk preferred a more intimate work dynamic that would allow him to experiment with his sound. In 1941, Monk began working at Milton's Playhouse in Harlem, where he joined the house band and helped develop the school of jazz known as bebop. Alongside Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie, he explored the fast, jarring, and often improvised styles that would later become synonymous with modern jazz. Monk's first known recording was made in 1944 when he worked as a member of Cole Hawkins' Quartet. Monk didn't record under his own name, however, until 1947, when he played as the leader of the sextet session for Blue Note. Monk made a total of 5 Blue Note recordings between 1947 and 1952, including Criss Cross and Evidence. These are generally regarded as the first works characterized of Monk's unique jazz style, which embraced percussive, playing, unusual repetitions, and dissonant sounds. As Monk saw it, the piano ain't got no wrong notes. Though widespread recognition was still years away, Monk had already earned the regard of his peers, as well as several important critics. In 1947, Monk married Nellie Smith, his longtime sweetheart. They later had 2 children whom they named after Monk's parents, Thelonious and Barbara. In 1952, Monk signed a contract with Prestige Records, which yielded pieces like Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Bags Groove. The latter, which he recorded with Miles Davis in 1954, is sometimes said to be his finest piano solo ever. Because Monk's work continued to be largely overlooked by jazz fans at large, Prestige sold his contract to Riverside Records in 1955. There he attempted to make his first 2 recordings more widely accessible, but his efforts was poorly received by critics. Not content to pander ineffectively to a non-existent audience, Monk turned the page with his 1956 album, Brilliant Corners, which is usually considered to be his first true masterpiece. The album's title track made a splashed with its innovative, technically demanding, and extremely complex sounds which had to be edited together from many separate takes. With the release of two more Riverside masterworks, Thelonious himself and Thelonious Monk, with John Coltrane, Monk finally received the acclaim he deserved. In 1957, the Thelonious Monk Quartet, which included John Coltrane, began performing regularly at the Five Spot in New York. Enjoying huge success, they went on to tour the United States and even made some appearances in Europe. By 1962, Monk was so popular that he was given a contract with Columbia Records, a decidedly more mainstream label than Riverside. In 1964, Monk became one of 4 jazz musicians ever to grace the cover of Time magazine.